Hello children, we already discussed about the organs involved in the human digestive system in previous video. Now we are going to discuss about the digestion process, how it takes place in the human beings. So that organs we are going to discuss about. Later on we will discuss about the digestive glands, their location and the enzymes released by them. So let's start. Now, the organ, mouth and the buccal cavity. Mouth, we know that these are guided by the, mouth is guarded by the movable lips. We take any food through it. Then in buccal cavity. In buccal cavity, it is broken down into smaller particles and get mixed with saliva, which is released from the salivary gland present outside the buccal cavity. And saliva contains salivary amylase, that is a enzyme, and we know what are the enzymes, what are their actions, which help in the digestion of about 30% of carbohydrate in the mouth itself. That means it converts carbohydrate into maltose. That is a simple sugar. Yes children, did you notice one thing? When you continuously chew the piece of bread, that means it get mixed with saliva completely. So after some time you feel sweet in taste. Why it is so? Because salivary amylase act on it, because piece of bread also contain the carbohydrate and it get converted into maltose, that is a simple sugar. That is why we feel sweet in taste. As the food is digested here or partially digested here, then the food pass to the stomach through pharynx and esophagus. Pharynx is a common passage for food as well as air. No digestion takes place here. Similarly, in esophagus also no digestion takes place here. It is a muscular tube in which peristalsis movement is found, means alternate contraction and relaxation. It occurs in order to pass the food in different organs present below it. So, in esophagus also no digestion process takes place. It acts only the passage. Then in stomach digestion takes place, means in stomach partial digestion of protein takes place. As in the mouth, partial digestion of carbohydrate takes place. So, in stomach, gastric glands are there. Gastric glands release gastric juices, and gastric juices contain three substances which are very important. In the board examination in 3 marks, they may ask you these questions, that what are the substances that gastric juice contain. So, first is pepsin. That is an enzyme which helps in the digestion of proteins. But here partial digestion of protein takes place. That means protein which is present in the food get converted into proteoses and peptones. That is a partial digested form of proteins in the presence of pepsin enzyme. And remember it, pepsin enzyme always work in acidic medium. And that acidic medium is provided by HCl, which are also released from the gastric juice. HCl is very highly concentrated acid here. But then also it doesn't cause any harm to the internal part of the stomach or inner lining of the stomach. Because third substance, that is mucus, is also released from the gastric juice, which is slippery, and it protects the inner lining of the stomach from the action of hydrochloric acid, which is highly concentrated. So, once again I am going to tell you that in stomach partial digestion of proteins takes place. Here gastric glands are present which releases gastric juices, and gastric juices contain three substances. First is pepsin, which help in partial digestion of protein. Second is HCl, that is hydrochloric acid, which provide acidic medium for the action of pepsin enzyme, and it also kills the germs present in the food. And third one is mucus. Mucus is a very slippery substance liberated by the gastric juice in order to protect the inner lining of the stomach from the action of hydrochloric acid. Now children, small intestine, because stomach that opens into small intestine. In small intestine, digestion get completed here, as well as it is also food is also absorbed here, means absorption and complete digestion that takes place in the small intestine. So small intestine, as we already discussed, it divides into duodenum, jejunum, ileum. So in duodenum part, that is the first shortest part, in which pancreatic juice as well as bile juices are liberated by pancreatic duct and hepatic duct. Now, what are these duct? Duct are the small tube-like structures which brings the juices to the duodenum part of the small intestine. As I said, pancreatic duct, that means which brings the pancreatic juice. And if we say hepatic duct, that means it brings the juice from the liver. Hepatic term that is used for the liver. So its work is to bring the bile juice to the duodenum part of the small intestine. Now, jejunum. Here, complete digestion of food takes place. Now, complete digestion of food, how it takes place? Actually, that bile juice, it provide basic medium in the small intestine, because the enzymes which are released from the pancreatic juice like trypsin, amylase, lipase, all work in basic medium only. So sometimes they may be asked like this, but although bile juice doesn't contain any enzyme, then also it is very much useful in the process of digestion. So answer is, although bile juice doesn't contain any type of enzyme, but it provides basic medium in the small intestine for the action of pancreatic enzymes, or the enzymes which are released from the pancreatic juices, such as amylase, lipase and trypsin. So now, what is the work of trypsin? Trypsin that help in the final digestion of protein. If we talk about lipase, that helps in the final digestion of lipids. And third one is amylase. As the term amylase, that means it helps in the digestion of carbohydrate. So now come to the ileum. Ileum is the last part of the small intestine. Here, absorption of food takes place. Up to jejunum, complete digestion of food takes place. Later on, it must be absorbed into the blood. So, last part, that is ileum. It is provided with finger-like projections. And that finger-like projections are called villi. Villi increases the absorption area. So, these slowly absorb the food particles, and these villi are richly supplied with blood. So, slowly it gets transported to various parts through blood. Now, small intestine is over. The last is large intestine. Actually, large intestine, although I said that digestion completes in small intestine, then also large intestine is very important because in large intestine, absorption of water and minerals takes place. And in the large intestine only, the temporary storage of undigested food material takes place. So, afterwards means a large intestine can store the waste material up to 8 hours. Then it is released out through the anus. So, now children, we are going to discuss about digestive glands, their location and the enzymes released by them. First is salivary gland, present outside the buccal cavity. That means it is not present within the inner side of it. Means wherever teeth, tongue are found. That means it may be present below the ear. It may be present in both the sides of the cheek. It is also present below the tongue region. So these are the location. These are 3 in number. First is parotid gland, that is the largest salivary gland. Second is submaxillary and third is sublingual, and enzymes released by it, that is salivary amylase. Now liver. We know children, liver is the largest gland of the body. Its weight is about 1.2 to 1.5 kg and its location is it present below the diaphragm. It secretes bile juice. As bile juice is released from the liver, first it gets stored in the gallbladder, which is horseshoe shape and present just below the liver. Later on, when it is required by the small intestine, it is transported to the duodenum part of the small intestine through hepatic duct. Now, the weight of liver is about 1.2 to 1.5 kg. Then, and we know that it releases bile juice, and bile juice that helps in emulsification of fat as well as providing as basic medium in the small intestine. Now, what is emulsification? Emulsification means breaking down of the complex molecule of fat into the simpler molecules. Then, next gland is pancreas. It is present in duodenum part of the small intestine. It secretes pancreatic juice, which contain various enzymes. We already discussed about it. That is trypsin, lipase and amylase. Now, next gland, that is gastric gland, that is present inside the stomach and releases gastric juices. Millions of gastric glands are present in our stomach, dear children. Remember it. And our stomach can store food about 1 kg at a time, not more than it. Now, come to the intestinal gland. Intestinal glands means the glands which are present in the intestine, and these also releases juices which are rich in enzymes for the completion of digestion of various components of food. So, I hope children you understand the whole digestive system of the human beings. And one more thing I am going to tell you, that different types of sphincters are provided at the end or terminal part of each organ. Why it is provided? Because sphincters help in passing of digested food from one organ to another. Now children, it is completed here. We are going to start respiration process. We know that respiration is also a biological process in which food is broken down into simpler products in order to release energy. That means we can say respiration is a type of catabolic process. Now, what is the meaning of catabolic? Catabolic means any larger component which get broken down into simpler components. As we already studied photosynthesis, that is anabolic process, because in photosynthesis carbon dioxide and water get mixed to each other in order to form carbohydrate, that was starch. But here carbohydrate, or we can say glucose, broken down into carbon dioxide and water, so it is a catabolic process. Dear children, remember the terms catabolic, anabolic. Catabolic means breaking down of any substance. Anabolic means addition up of the substance. And if we combine both the processes, catabolic and anabolic, it forms metabolic processes. I hope you understand this. Now, respiration. Why respiration is important? It is important to provide energy, because each cell of our body require energy for doing different activities of the cell. So the reaction of respiration is C6H12O6 plus 6 molecules of oxygen, that means 6 O2. It gives 6 CO2 plus 6 H2. And plus evident amount of energy is released out. Now, respiration is also divided into two parts, or we can say there are two different types of respiration: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration, that means the respiration or the breaking down of food takes place in the presence of oxygen, that is known as aerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, complete oxidation of food takes place. Why? Because oxygen is present here. That means enormous amount of energy is liberated here. That is about 38 molecules of ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. And this process means aerobic process that takes place in cytoplasm in the beginning. Later on it get completed into the mitochondria. And we can say that all higher animals respire aerobically, that means in the presence of oxygen. Now another is anaerobic. Anaerobic means any respiration which takes place in the absence of oxygen. That means incomplete oxidation of food takes place in anaerobic respiration. As a result, 2 ATP molecules is liberated out, that is very much less. That is why it is found in lower forms only. Or we can say only 2 molecules of ATP is liberated in case of anaerobic respiration. Now a chart that is already given in NCERT, you can see from there, or I will also share with you. So just see that here as catabolic process, glucose is broken down. So directly glucose cannot be broken down into carbon dioxide and water and energy is liberated out. No. First glucose that is broken down into pyruvate. We know that glucose is 6 carbon molecule compound, but pyruvate is 3 carbon molecule compound. That this process of conversion of glucose into pyruvate that takes place in cytoplasm. Means it is a common process. Either any organism respire in the presence of oxygen or in the absence of oxygen. This process is common to all, either higher animals or lower forms of animal. But later on, pyruvate in case of yeast, because yeast respire anaerobically, means in the absence of oxygen. So it forms ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy is liberated. That means end product in the yeast, that is ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy is released out. But when sometimes we know that we do a vigorous exercise or we work very hard, laborious work we do, at that time our muscle cells respire anaerobically because more amount of oxygen is not available at that time. So when muscle respire anaerobically, at that time lactic acid is formed in the body and energy is liberated out. Lactic acid, that is why after vigorous exercise we are feeling difficult or we are feeling pain also. That is because of the accumulation of lactic acid. Now, main thing, when cell respire aerobically or in the presence of oxygen, here carbon dioxide is formed, water is formed and energy is liberated out. So my dear children, you complete your notes. Whatever I discuss with you in next video, I'll discuss the organs involved in respiration and as well as mechanism of respiration, means how respiration takes place in our body.